Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of Saturdays Rewritten here on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening platform. Today, we're going to dive into the landscape of college football. We've got a couple of head coaches that have been fired. We have a press conference from Dabo Swinney that has certainly caught some attention this last week. And we have got, of course, a good slate of games coming up here for week 4. So, without further ado, guys, let's dive in. We got a lot to get through. Man, so already 4 weeks into this college football season, and we've already got 2 head coaches at some decent programs that are gone. And that would be DeShaun Foster, fired by UCLA, and Brent Pry, who was let go at Virginia Tech. Both of them with off to 0-3 starts this year. Both of them just looking discombobulated. The whole program, the whole team on either side, just not good. I mean, Virginia Tech, they were down 31-0 to Old Dominion this last week. That's not going to cut it. A program as proud as Virginia Tech, down 31-0 to Old Dominion on your home field. The week prior, they get demolished by Vanderbilt. And don't get me wrong, Vanderbilt has improved. Vanderbilt, they've got a solid coach in their own right. And their rosters, led by Diego Pavia, they got a decent team over there at Vanderbilt. But to get shellacked back-to-back weeks like that, just not a good look for Virginia Tech. So I understand they're firing. This has kind of been trending in that direction. I thought, Virginia Tech had a lot more talent last year, and the record did not indicate it. So understandable decision on Virginia Tech side. For UCLA, DeShaun Foster. The guy, frankly, was underqualified. He should have never been hired in the first place, which is why I look at the incompetence of the athletic director at UCLA for bringing him on in the very beginning. I would have accepted the UCLA job. I would have said yes if they offered the job to me. That doesn't mean I'm qualified. I'd probably be going the way of DeShaun Foster right about now. But all that to say, I am kind of worried about both these programs. I'm more worried about UCLA than I am Virginia Tech. I don't think UCLA is a good job. I don't think it's a top 40, top 45 job in all of college football. Yes, you have the Rose Bowl. You have some tradition with UCLA, especially back in the 70s and 80s, 90s. UCLA had some success during those days. There were times where UCLA was ranked number 1 in the country, and there was some prestige with the name. Those days are long gone. I mean, the school itself is the stadium itself is 45 minutes away from the campus. It's a basketball school. Let's be real. A lot of the NIL is set up well around basketball, football. There's just not as much support. I thought it spoke volumes when Chip Kelly, head coach of UCLA in a Big Ten conference, said, no, I would rather be a coordinator. I would rather be a coordinator somewhere else than deal with this. I thought that spoke volumes, and it was kind of a direction where UCLA was going. Yes, we blew up the Pac-12 conference for this. Bravo. Bravo, UCLA. Bravo, executives. Good job. This is what we're looking at now. The stadium attendance at UCLA is abysmal. You got, 20, 30,000 fans showing up in a 100,000 seat stadium? I understand UCLA has a lot to do. There is a lot competing against the UCLA Bruins, and when you're a crappy team, you're not going to draw a crowd. I understand that. But even when UCLA was solid under Chip Kelly, they were having attendance issues. Chip Kelly, they were putting up 8-9 win seasons, and they still couldn't really draw a crowd. So the interest in UCLA as a program is just not good. If I worry about them on the recruiting side of things, I think when you look at agents around college football, they're not going to be sending their prized prospects, their prized clients to UCLA. I don't think it sets them up well on that end. I think your little brother to USC. There's a clear difference in roster talent between USC and UCLA. And we see it in the trenches. USC, they've put their money where their mouth is, and their current team right now, they're ranked number 25 in the country, and they've got themselves a big test this week as they prepare to take on, I believe that's Michigan State. By the way, Michigan State has a coach that could be of interest to UCLA, who was coaching at Oregon State, a Pac-12 foe. So UCLA's got their eyes set on him. If I'm Jonathan Smith, I'm not going to UCLA, but he does have ties to Los Angeles. But I think Michigan State's a better setup than UCLA. Some other guys who have been tied to the UCLA job, D'Anton Lynn. He was the defensive coordinator there last year, or a few years ago, rather now. Time flies. And he had a pretty rock-solid defense with Chip Kelly as the head coach at UCLA. His name's been floated out there. Will Stein, Oregon offensive coordinator. Tony White, Florida State defensive coordinator. Brent Brennan, Arizona's head coach. Clark Lee, Vanderbilt's head coach. He's rocking and rolling at Vanderbilt, though. Why would he leave? He's in the SEC. He's in Nashville. He's in recruiting. There's some pretty solid recruiting pipelines where he's at. They're investing a lot of money into the Vanderbilt football program. Why would he leave? Tennessee's a good place to live, too. There's no income tax. Your money goes a lot further in Tennessee, I'll tell you that. David Shaw, Detroit Lions passing game coordinator. All of those names I've seen tossed around for the UCLA job, and my question is, I don't know if I'm leaving for any of them. I think there's, I've listened to some other shows today where people are saying, I've got coordinators telling me that they're going to stay put as opposed to going to this job. So I'm curious to see who UCLA is going to be able to get. They're towards the bottom half of the Big Ten. Now they have to worry about a bunch of players transferring out because with NCAA rules, the way it's set up, if a coach is fired in the middle of the season, players have 30 days to transfer out and it not count against them as a year of eligibility. Nico Iamaleava, it's in his name. I'm going to leave you. I wouldn't be shocked if he leaves UCLA and goes elsewhere. Gosh, what a travesty that his young career is turning into. He could have stayed at Tennessee, but frankly, Tennessee's better off. Look at how well they played against Georgia. Shout out to Aguilar. What a game. Anyways, Virginia Tech, they've got some guys listed as well as tied to the new job opening. Alex Galesh at South Florida. Why would he leave? South Florida is investing hundreds of millions to build a new stadium. They're going to have their own stadium. They're in Florida. Talk about recruiting heaven. They're in the American Conference, which the American Conference is decent. There's decent talent throughout, so it's not as if it's a gimme every year. But South Florida could dominate the American Conference, and they could represent the G5 on a pretty regular basis in the college football playoff. Why would he go to Virginia Tech, who's towards the bottom of the barrel right now? It's probably about to be gutted because, again, same rule applies. Virginia Tech players can up and leave now. They have 30 days. You got Ryan Silverfield, the Memphis head coach. I could, when I look at Memphis and Virginia Tech, you compare the two jobs. I could see that one. I think Memphis is a good stepping stone type program. Charles Huff, he just went to Southern Miss, and he was going to start a rebuild there. He originally was at Marshall and then went to Southern Miss. You got Bob Chesney, James Madison. You got Shane Beamer. You got ties to the Virginia Tech, Beamer ball, but you're in the SEC if you're Shane Beamer. Am I really going to take a step down to the ACC, a conference that is looking less and less stable by the day? Florida State and Clemson have already made it clear they want to leave. North Carolina has been rumored to want to be picked up by the ACC or the Big Ten. I don't know. The ACC you got Michael Vick, Norfolk State University. Could see that. That would be a pretty cool storyline, him coming back to coach Virginia Tech. He is a little unproven, but he's doing it at Norfolk State. He's coaching already. So He's a guy who understands the area, understands the program. I've heard that about Alex Galesh too. But again, I think Alex Galesh has it pretty good. Alex Galesh is probably going to get better job offers down the road too. The way he's leading South Florida right now, unless they were to just tank and have a bad rest of the season. In any case, a lot of movement already in this young season. So it's going to be interesting to see what Virginia Tech and UCLA are able to come up with on the coaching side as they look forward the rest of this season. Both of them, again, 0-3. Not off to a good start this year. How about Arch Manning? Speaking of not off to a good start this year, Arch Manning was the Heisman frontrunner coming into this season. And I personally, I'll be first to admit it, I thought Arch was going to come in and, have a pretty solid start to the campaign. It has not been what I thought. It has not been what anyone thought, to be fair. 55% completion percentage, 108th out of eligible quarterbacks, a QBR of 49.6. He had 114 yards passing against UTEP this last week at home. Texas won, but it doesn't bode well for the rest of the season. They've got some really tough, Texas, by comparison, Texas's schedule isn't as difficult as some of their competition in the SEC, but they got some tough tasks coming up ahead. Oklahoma with John Mateer. He's looking pretty good. You got Florida at Florida. They just dropped a tough one against LSU, but that's not going to be a gimme at Florida in the swamp. How about Georgia? In between the hedges. That's not going to be easy. You got Texas A&M. Fortunately, Texas A&M is coming to your place, but the way Texas's offense is looking, will they be able to keep up with Texas A&M? Texas A&M just played their guts out against Notre Dame and put up 41 points against the Fighting Irish? Beat them in South Bend, Indiana? What an impressive win for Texas A&M. Suddenly Texas A&M's a top 10 team. I don't know. It does not look good for Texas. I would have understood if Arch came in and was having some interception trouble. He gets his first time starting at Ohio State. He goes in and makes a bunch of mistakes, but he's still throwing the ball with conviction and gusto. I would have understood that. These are accuracy issues, which is a little bit concerning and surprising, frankly, compared to what I saw last year. Yes, he was going up against teams that were like Ole Monroe. I mean, come on. He was going up against teams like that early on. He played Mississippi State, which is not what they are now. Mississippi State suddenly looks pretty decent. Big win against Arizona State earlier this year. They're 3-0. So I understand he wasn't playing against top competition last year, but he still looked like he was pretty confident with where he was going with the football. He was still firing the ball downfield. He was still pretty quick with his decision making. He got the ball to his receivers. He was being creative with the ball too. There was that little flip play that you see in the highlights against Colorado State. He was looking good, looked solid. I saw the potential. Everybody did, which is why he was so highly touted coming into this season. But man, it has just turned into a nightmare in these first couple of weeks. I think he can turn it around, of course. And I'm sure he'll start to settle into it. But now he's got to go do this at the swamp. Maybe the added pressure will help. I don't know. It almost looks like he's hurt the way the ball comes out sometimes. Really interesting stuff down at Texas. So I hope Arch Manning figures it out. He does have a good ground game to lean on. He's got Steve Sarkisian. At some point, you almost got to look at Steve Sarkisian too and be like, what's going on, coach? You're supposed to be the offensive guru here. Why isn't your quarterback more prepared? Why isn't your offense performing as well? This is your specialty. Give up the play calling duties if we have to. He's the one calling the plays. Steve's got to take some responsibility on this end too. I'm sure he does. Defensively, Texas looks great. I'm not concerned about them there. Physically, they look pretty dominating, and they are not the soft Texas of old. They're going to hit you. So I like Texas defensively, but man, offensively, it's not all Arch either. His receivers definitely they're not creating as much separation as last year. And yes, you have some NFL draft picks on last year's team, so not as surprising there. But they're not helping Arch out either. So it's definitely some concern for Texas early on, especially as we look at the rest of the schedule. You got Vanderbilt on there too. Vanderbilt's ranked in the top 25. It's a pretty deep SEC, and I would be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw some topsy-turvy losses coming for numerous teams down the road here. How about Clemson? If we're going to talk about disappointing, let's talk about Clemson. I mean, Clemson was my national championship pick. They're returning all year, all offseason. I heard about Clemson returning 86% of production from last year. Numerous NFL draft picks on either side of the ball. Cade Klubnik, 40 total touchdowns last year, 6 interceptions. He's going to lead the offense. Got good offensive line coming back. Weapons everywhere you look. What happened? The offense looks abysmal. The defense, shout out to the defense. The defense looks much improved under Tom Allen. The tackling looks good. The physicality is there. They're hard to beat on defense. But, man, offensively just looks out of sync. LSU, that was a good game. I was not worried about Clemson in game one. I thought, okay, that was rough, but they'll figure it out. They played against a top 5 team that many people think could be competing for a national championship. So no harm, no foul there. But then they are down 17-3 against Troy? Are you kidding me? At home? And they have to turn it on in the second half and come out with the win. It honestly didn't even feel like a win. And then week 3, they lose to Georgia Tech. Shout out to Georgia Tech, though. That is a good team. I think Georgia Tech was before the season, I thought they'd be a dark horse for not only the ACC, but the college football playoff. So, again, I can't give too much flack for losing to Georgia Tech, but I just thought Clemson would look a lot better than this. Offensively, it does not look good. And man, Dabo, you can tell he's feeling some pressure, given the way he responded in his post-game press conference. I'll play a clip right now.
What's so bad about our program? What's so bad about it? Like, what's so bad about the worst season that we've had 14 years? How many programs in college football would sign up for one, and only once, 14 years of 9 wins? How many programs would sign up for that? In the playoffs, we all talk about, we've been 7 times in 10 years. Who can say that? If we stink because we haven't played for the national championship since January of 20, well, I guess we stink. Or we haven't won it since January of 19. We haven't won the national championship. Well, then I guess we stink. But why are we held to a different standard from all these other teams out there who ain't ever won nothing? We're not perfect, and we may suck this year. We may lay a freaking egg and go 6-6, but I don't think so. And I know that's going to disappoint a lot of people, but I don't think so. I know it's bad because I get in all the text messages, I'm praying for you, everybody's sending me devotions, and you're going to get through this. And, that's when I know it's bad. That's how I feel it, because I don't read it. I don't. I know people say that. I promise you I don't. When it's bad, I don't read nothing. This ain't the worst thing that's happened to me in my life, and it won't be. And it won't be for these players. It's a bad moment, because we take pride in what we do and we're competitive. But this ain't the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Is criticism and all that. And listen, I get it, and it's warranted because people care, and I love being at a program that people care and it matters. That doesn't bother me. I get all that. I spent 13 years at Alabama, so I had thick skin when I showed up here at Clemson. If they want me gone, if they tired of winning, they can send me on their way because that's all we've done is win. So if they tired of winning, we've won this league 8 out of the last 10 years. Is that not good? I'm just asking. Is that good? I don't know if that's good or not. To win your league 8 out of 10 years, to go to the playoffs 7 out of 10 years, to be in 4 national championships, win it twice. Yeah, we're a little down right now. Take your shots, but I got a long memory, in case y'all don't know. We'll be all right. We'll bounce back. And, hey, listen, if Clemson's tired of winning, they can send me on my way, but I'm going to go somewhere else and coach. I ain't going to the beach. Hell, I'm 55. I got a long way to go. Y'all going to have to deal with me for a while. I have a long way to go. I'm just getting going. I'm just now good enough to be a head coach. I'm just now figuring it out. So we'll be around a while. Let's hang in there.
So that's Dabo. And, I understand some of the frustration that he's feeling. But, Dabo, you set these expectations. Yeah, everybody expects you to be good, and you're not playing that way. So everyone's going to point it out. He talks about this standard and he keeps going on about, man, every other program that hasn't done what we've done wishes they could have this. Well, no, duh. Nobody's saying that. You're good. We understand that. Clemson is good. You've been good for a long time. But now we expect that. I don't think that's unfair of fans at Clemson or the rest of the country to just be kind of surprised about what we're seeing with Clemson right now, given the talent that you had returning, especially. I don't know. I'm surprised at his response, to say the least. He brought a lot of attention to it, in my opinion, and it didn't look good. At the end of the day, Dabo, you just eat it, you just take it, and you move on, and you just quietly go about your work. I understand some of the frustration, but I think the questions are warranted. So it's going to be interesting to see how Clemson responds from this. They've already got 2 losses. They pretty much have to run the table when it comes to the college football playoff now. They got to, they could still win the ACC with 3 losses, I suppose. But, they got South Carolina, on their schedule. The rest of their schedule looks pretty easy. But again, their offense hasn't looked good. Cade Klubnik's been disappointing. I thought he was a Heisman front runner already to start the season. I thought he would have come out and play a lot better. He is not. He's been a disappointment. Garrett Nussmeier's looked better. The guy that outdueled him in game 1. Klubnik, he hasn't been there. It's not all on him either. I understand that. The offensive line's been a little disappointing. They were kind of bullied against LSU in game 1. I don't know. Just inconsistent from the outset. And who knows? Clemson runs the table. They get on a run. They go to the playoff. They're looking good. Maybe these questions fade into the background. We'll see. And the AP poll, there's been a lot of shifting going on. Ohio State remains at number 1. Penn State and LSU follow up at 2 and 3, respectively. Miami's up to number 4 now. Georgia at number 5 after that impressive win against Tennessee. That poor kicker at Tennessee, man. I honestly, though, thought that game said a lot more about Tennessee than it did Georgia. That's not to say Georgia didn't play well. Georgia played great. Gunnar Stockton, he balled out. Credit to Georgia. They looked physical running the football again. Georgia's obviously going to be an elite team down the road here. But Tennessee, that was the first time in a while where Tennessee, pound for pound, was meeting Georgia in the trenches with physicality. They were hitting Georgia. There was some pop to those pads. And they were moving the ball in the trenches. That was the first time I've seen Tennessee match up that way. So Tennessee, trajectory-wise, you guys are looking good. And your quarterback play, a little bit better than last year. And we've seen what's happened with Nico Iamaleava off to an 0-3 start. Aguilar, man, what a killer. Throwing those deep balls over Georgia. Receivers going down, making plays. Tennessee's been fun to watch. Didn't go their way. That was a heartbreaker. But what a game. So anyways, Georgia was number 5. You got Texas A&M moving up to number 10. Already talked about them. Georgia Tech jumping up to number 18. Notre Dame's all the way down to 24 after starting 0-2. Notre Dame, are they going to make the college football playoff? Those were their 2 big tests right off the bat, Miami and Texas A&M. And they lost both. Notre Dame could run the table, but looking at the rest of their schedule, let me just pull it up here. Notre Dame's schedule, you got Purdue this week, and Purdue's looking better, by the way. Still, I think Notre Dame will be fine, in theory. Then they got Arkansas. Arkansas is looking better. Arkansas's quarterback play has been quite impressive. That Talon Green? Yeah, Talon Green. He's been balling out. 300 yards against Ole Miss. And that's at Arkansas. Then you got Boise State coming to Notre Dame. You got NC State coming to Notre Dame. You got 25th ranked USC coming to Notre Dame. So at least Notre Dame does have the home field advantage. But USC is looking good. So maybe there is some strength of schedule there that Notre Dame can rely on. But is Notre Dame going to run the table from here on out? Is that what you're telling me after the first couple of weeks? The defense has looked mediocre. Offense played their guts out against Texas A&M, but weren't able to get it done. That poor backup quarterback as he was trying to hold for the PAT. It's a tough break. But man, Notre Dame, not off to a good start, and I question whether they have enough on their schedule to make the college football playoff, even if they ran the table. They can't make a mistake the rest of the way, in my calculation. Maybe I'm wrong. College football can be crazy. So that was this last week. Those are just kind of my gut reactions to what I've been seeing. Let's look at week 4's the big upcoming games we've got today. The time of recording is Friday night, so a little bit late getting this out. And I apologize for last week not putting anything out, but I've been covering the news here locally, so wasn't able to do a show for you guys. But we got Texas Tech at number 16 Utah. That's a great one. Both undefeated. Great environment at Utah. I'm definitely going to be tuning into that one. Oklahoma hosting number 22 Auburn. John Mateer, Heisman, he's got to be a Heisman favorite. He's been looking fantastic. Everybody was talking to me about, oh, he's not going to be able to hack it in the SEC. He's going to be able to hack it in the SEC. We've seen it in this first couple of weeks. He's looking good. Purdue at number 24, Notre Dame. The only reason I highlighted that is because, man, Notre Dame's up against the ropes right now. And Purdue, they're off to a 2-0 start. They're improved. They're not saying they're going to win, but Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame's going to come out with a desperation about them and realize, oh my gosh, we've got to figure it out right here. And they're going to punch hard. It's at home. They'll be fine, right? Number 21, Michigan on the road at Nebraska. Nebraska's improved. I think Nebraska, schedule-wise, this could be a year that they break into the college football playoff. I think they have all the makings of a 10-win team this year. Let me just pull up Nebraska's schedule again here really quickly. They're off to a 3-0 start. Michigan 2-1 after that tough loss to Oklahoma. Of course, we all saw it. It was a good game. It was a good defensive grudge match. And then they beat Central Michigan like a drum, 63-3. I'm surprised Connor Stallions wasn't on the sideline there. Any case. The environment at Nebraska is going to be great. I personally think Nebraska gets it done. I think I've really liked what I've seen from them this year, and I just think this is their year. This is their year with Coach Rule. Matt Rule's a good coach. I think they figure a way out to get it done at home, and I think Nebraska's waited their turn, and now's when we see a breakthrough. So I like Nebraska in that one. Then you got Illinois at number 19, Indiana. That's an intriguing one. Illinois is ranked number 9 in the country. 19th ranked Indiana. Coach Cignetti. Coach Brett Bielema. That's a battle of the two eyes. I really like that game. Lots of good storylines here. How about Michigan State at number 25, USC? USC finally cracks the top 25. The Trojans have the best offense scoring-wise in the country thus far, and you go figure. They've got a pretty good offensive mind as their head coach. And the team's just looked solid. And yes, they haven't really played anybody. But USC, I think they're showing some weapons, and they're showing some promise here. Now they're coming into a bit of a tough streak here in their schedule, though. We're going to find out what they're made of. After they play Michigan State tomorrow, Michigan State, by the way, is 3-0, undefeated. Then they get to play against 9th-ranked Illinois. We'll see if Illinois is still ranked 9th after this week. Then they got Michigan. Then they got Notre Dame. And then Nebraska. So that 4-game stretch is that's gonna tell the story of USC here in the next coming weeks. I'm excited to see what they can do. Florida at Miami. 4th-ranked Miami. Florida, gosh, my heart breaks for DJ Lagway, man. Goes on the road to Death Valley. It's 20-10, a grudge match defensive game. Florida's defense played their hearts out, And Lagway just had a bad night. It is what it is. 5 interceptions. I thought Florida played well enough to get the job done and come out with a gutsy win, and they just couldn't do it at LSU. It's tough at Death Valley. I understand that. But they just couldn't get it done. So let me take a sip here with my Cougar mug. See that Cougar helmet in the background there? Washington State. We're taking on the Huskies this week. But we lost 59-10 against North Texas this last week. My wife Kendra was sitting next to me. She was laughing at one point. We're going to see Washington State play Ole Miss in a couple weeks. And she said, I'm not wearing a Cougar shirt. I root for winners. She's a front runner, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm dealing with here. Some good decaf coffee. In any case, my Cougs, we're taking on the Huskies in the Apple Cup. How dare they leave us for the Big Ten? How dare they? We have got to send a message. I hope we don't lose by that much, because after last week's game, my morale is at an all-time low. I'm still picking the Cougs because I have to. I'm a Cougar fan. What am I going to do? Pick the Huskies to beat us at home after they leave us for the Big Ten? Are you kidding me? I'm not picking them. They might win. In any case, the Huskies are improved. I think they're a solid Big Ten team. I hope we pull something out of the hat here for Washington State. That's all I got to say. It could be bad. Go Cougs. A couple other games. Yeah, Florida at Miami. I was talking about that one. Miami's looking good. Carson Beck's looking good. When does Miami leave the state of Florida? They don't leave the state of Florida until, November. November 1st is when they go to play at SMU. They do have to play at Florida State. And man, that game is looking epic. Number 4 Miami taking on number 7 Florida State. Who would have thought that to begin the season? My gosh, college football is crazy. But they just demolished South Florida. South Florida's journey in the top 25 just came to an end. Their Cinderella run after they beat Florida. Man, but poor Florida. I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but poor Florida. They start the season in the top 25. They lose a tough one to South Florida. A lot of penalty issues throughout the first couple of weeks here. That just has been a trend under Coach Billy Napier. And now Billy Napier's back on the hot seat. South Florida's a game they were supposed to just come out and win. They put up better than 16 points. Come on. Tough break for Florida. And now they lose to LSU. Now they get Miami. And let's just continue with Florida's schedule here. They're 1-2 right now. They go to Texas. They get Texas at home after this week against Miami. They get 10th ranked Texas A&M at Kyle Field. Unbelievable. They get Mississippi State. Mississippi State's pushing for the top 25. They get them at home. Number 5 Georgia comes to town. You got Kentucky, but Kentucky always finds a way to beat people, and they get Kentucky at home. Then they got 13th ranked Ole Miss, 15th ranked Tennessee, and then 7th ranked Florida State. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, pack your bags, Billy Napier. I don't know how he survives. I just don't know how he survives that stretch. What do you guys think? Comment below. In any case, Florida's got a rough set of games coming up here. And then South Carolina at Missouri, I think, is interesting. Just because South Carolina, they've got some things to figure out. I do worry about the Gamecocks a little bit. Lenora Sellers, he hasn't even looked that great the last couple of weeks. I don't think he's got the best receiving core in order to help him out, but I worry for South Carolina. 23rd ranked Missouri, they looked good against Kansas last week. That was a pretty solid game. They got the job done at home, and they get to be home for this one too. So I do think this is a step up in competition with South Carolina, especially defensively. I could see the Gamecocks pull out a shocker here, but Missouri, they're looking solid. So we got some great college football coming up tomorrow, guys. I'm going to have a reaction video after the games are played earlier in the week, Monday or Tuesday. I'll get that out to you guys, and then I'll have an episode, hopefully do 2 a week, where Tuesday and Thursday I'm recording and getting a show out to you guys. And we'll rock and roll from there. But it's good to have college football back, ladies and gentlemen. And let's see how this week rolls out. I'm going to be watching. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And enjoy.